Welcome into the Oklahoman's video studio. Time for the Week in Review to recap some of the stories we covered throughout this week, to clear out all the pizza and donuts out of the newsroom as we move beyond elections and look ahead to the upcoming weekend and the next news cycle. Dave Morris, joined by Justin Wingeter, Ryan Sharp, and Darla Slipke. Guys, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Dave.
Justin, we'll start with you. I have two newspapers in front of me from Thursday and Friday, yesterday and today. The Outsiders, Kevin Stitt, Kendra Horn. And then today, the delegation will welcome Kendra Horn. We've had both of these individuals who won elections on Tuesday night in the studio. In fact, you just got off the set with Kendra Horn. A big week for both of those two.
Yeah, Horn especially. I mean, just the upset of the year in politics, perhaps nationwide. It garnered national attention. Just a shocking victory over Congressman Steve Russell. And take a look at why Russell lost and why Horn won, because those are separate questions, and they have separate answers to them.
You spoke with the representative-elect Kendra Horn this morning. How'd that conversation go? What'd you learn?
It was good. It was good. She's going to be a really moderate Democrat, and that's going to be fascinating to watch in this Congress. She may be even a swing vote in some cases if there's a close vote, because this is still a predominantly Republican district in some ways. She just won it, obviously, as a Democrat, very narrowly, a few thousand votes. And she is going to come in as a moderate Democrat by her own admission. And it'll be interesting to watch what vote she takes, beginning with the first vote, if not the first vote, will be the Speaker vote. Nancy Pelosi most likely running again as Speaker, and that could be a close vote. Horn told us here on set that she would like to see the Democratic Party go in another direction away from Pelosi. However, she has not seen who is running for that speakership, so she can't say who she's going to vote for yet. But that's interesting. Her and a lot of new freshman Democrats who are about to come in would really like to see the party go away from Pelosi to someone newer, fresher, a fresher face, and she seems to be on board with that.
Kendra has a little bit of a rock star swag to her at this point. You see it on social media. A lot of people are like, "Hey, she's the star of the moment right now." We saw in the newsroom or this building when she walked in as well. But she came into this with some ideas, even as granular as where her office would be located.
Yeah, she's still trying to figure some things out. She has some buildings in mind, but that's done by a lottery, so she doesn't have much say over that. She is kind of a Democratic star in the state right now, and like I said, they even garnered some national attention for her victory. It was not a great night by any means for Democrats in the state Tuesday night. She was the one exception, and so naturally people were kind of gravitated towards her. We even asked her on set, and this will be online later today, what can Democrats learn from you in either Oklahoma County or elsewhere as they try to win elections, because she seems to have figured something out that other Democrats haven't.
So what's she credited?
Really just an extremely strong volunteer force, and it was impressive. There's an army of volunteers she's amassed the last year or so. Impressive fundraising numbers, and just really outworked Russell in a lot of ways. And it was just a well-run campaign that would be hard to replicate time and time again, because it was just much larger and much better done than a lot of campaigns can even afford to do.
And Congressman Russell, what's next for him? Do we know?
No, I would be surprised if he runs for the seat again. But that's just speculation. I have not talked to the congressman. He put out a brief statement after his loss Tuesday night. Otherwise, has not said very much. He did not campaign hard for this seat. He's privately, many Republicans are very frustrated with him for handing this seat over to a Democrat. In a narrow race like that, you look at everything he could have done differently. Got out earlier, raised more money, which he is notorious and by his own admission not very good at. Just basic campaign stuff that was not achieved by the Russell campaign. That when you lose by a few thousand votes, people are going to look at and analyze and maybe even overanalyze.
Justin Wingeter has plenty of good coverage all week long leading into the elections on Tuesday and then post-elections that you can find online at newsok.com and in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman as well. I want to go to Darla Slipke at this point. You've been covering commutation this week, and first of all, tee that up. What is commutation and who all is involved here?
Yes, so commutation is a form of clemency that's granted a way of reducing sentences that's meant to correct an excessive or an unjust sentence. And so for the past several months, a group called Oklahomans for Criminal Justice Reform has been working to help a group of inmates apply for commutation. This week on Wednesday, the Pardon and Parole Board voted to give a favorable recommendation for 22 of the applicants that they've been assisting. And they're working with individuals who are serving time 10 years or longer for crimes that no longer carry such a high penalty following reforms that voters or legislators have approved in recent years. One of those big reforms was State Question 780, which reclassified certain drug and property offenses as misdemeanors rather than felonies. So a lot of the individuals being assisted through this campaign are serving time for simple drug possession, which today would not garner any prison time.
But at the time, they were given 10, 15, 20 years, perhaps.
Correct, yes. So
you profiled a lady, Kayla Jo Jeffries, I believe. You spoke with her leading into Wednesday. Yes. I assume she was one of those who received favorable news on Wednesday. Have you spoken with her since?
She was. I have not spoken with her since, but she was among the 22 who received a favorable recommendation. She's a 26-year-old mother of two who's serving a 20-year sentence right now. Under current law, the most time she could possibly serve would be 11 years, and she's actually about halfway through with her sentence right now, thanks to earned credits. So she was one of the people seeking a commutation, asking to have her sentence reduced to time served, and was one of the people who received a favorable recommendation from the Pardon and Parole Board this week.
So the Pardon and Parole Board issued their decision. What happens next?
So now the cases will go to the governor's desk. There's a three-step process for commutations in Oklahoma. Applicants must first get a favorable vote from the board during an initial review to go on to a second stage hearing, which is what 22 of the applicants had on Wednesday. And then if a simple majority of the board votes in favor of their application, it's passed on to the governor, who has final say. The governor is the only person who can actually grant a commutation. So once she receives those, she'll have 90 days to make a decision whether to approve or deny these commutation requests.
Which, of course, if you do the math, that becomes interesting because I don't believe she has 90 days left in her term, right?
That's right, yes. So those involved with the campaign are optimistic, hoping that she'll act on these before she leaves office.
Would this go to Governor-elect Kevin Stitt if not, or?
If not, I believe it
Okay.
would, but a spokesman for her office has said she'll review these just as she does, in the same manner she does every other application, but he did indicate that she doesn't want to leave a backlog for the new administration, which would seem to indicate that she might make her decision before her time is up.
Interesting. I'm sure ladies like Kayla and the others are like, ooh, how's this going to play out?
They are. I think especially with the holidays coming up, a lot of their families are hoping that they might have an answer before Thanksgiving or Christmas. So.
And as you might suspect, more coverage of this can be found online at newsok.com, including the stories leading up to Wednesday's meeting and beyond from Darla Slipke, and more coverage this weekend, I believe, right?
Yes.
Which brings us to Ryan Sharp this weekend, Bedlam action, OU versus OSU. Jenny Carlson was telling me yesterday, Dave, it's going to be great weather for this. I think it's going to be cold.
Yeah, not so much. I think it's going to be a little cold. If you've been outside in the last 24 hours, the temperature's dropped about 20 degrees.
Not like what we saw in Stillwater several years ago.
No,
that was crazy.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
That was brutal just walking into the stadium, much less trying to play a football game. So I think it'll be, precipitation-wise, it should be fine, but it's going to be a little cold. So.
Yeah. Our expectations, I think perhaps the storyline going into this is OSU is trying to play spoiler.
Yeah, so the betting line, if you're into such things, kind of keeps creeping up. Started out around 17, it's kind of up around 19.5 now in favor of OU, obviously. So it's an interesting year because for so many years now, OSU has gone into this game with something to play for, whether that be a really good bowl game, a chance at the Big 12 championship berth, a college football playoff berth, or a BCS berth back several years ago. They've had something to play for. Before that, OSU was always known to play, going into this game trying to play the role of spoiler. They're kind of back into that position. The good bowl berth and the Big 12 championship thing, those have kind of gone out the window as the season's gone on. But now you've got a chance to kind of ruin the day for a lot of OU folks. OU's still in line for a college football playoff berth. They're still in line for a Big 12 championship berth in Dallas. A lot for them to play for, and there's a lot of unknowns for OSU going into the game. Again, you don't know which team's going to show up. You have the team that lost to Baylor last week, or the team that smoked Texas.
A team that beat OU.
Yeah, a team that beat OU, and so it's really been week to week for OSU which team's going to show up. So it should be really interesting. You would assume that they'll be pretty fired up to go to Norman and play this game, but again, you would have assumed that they were going to get their bowl eligibility win last week against Baylor, and that didn't happen. So.
All right, plenty of coverage can be found throughout the day on newsok.com on Saturday. We've had a lot of video coverage leading up to it, so you can see that pregame analysis online at newsok.com as well. Last night, the Thunder hosted the Rockets, and I saw online someone snarkily said Carmelo Anthony played his best game for the Thunder last night as a member of the Rockets.
Indeed. Did not go well for Carmelo. He's struggled a little bit kind of all year. He's come off the bench for Houston, which, if you remember at the beginning of last year, Eric Korn asked him.
The infamous question.
Yeah, in preseason interview, if he'd be willing to come off the bench for the Thunder, and it became a viral video. He said, "Who, me?" and hollered at somebody walking through the hall, said they want me to come off the bench, and laughed at it. Well, now he's coming off the bench for Houston, and it was really reminiscent of how he was last year here.
It's kind of a non-factor last night.
It was a lot of missed shots. To be honest with you, Steven Adams kind of bullied him for a better part of the second half. It was interesting to watch, and the Thunder comes out with a 19-point win against a pretty good team. Thunder's won 7 in a row after starting 0-4, and the last 2 have come without Russell Westbrook. Earlier this week, had a nasty ankle sprain. Had a lot of people worried that it was something more serious. Whenever he goes down like that and starts hollering on the floor, you start thinking knee, all these other injuries that he's had. I mean, he just had a knee scoped earlier this year, so you're thinking something like that happened. We find out it's an ankle injury and probably not as bad as what we thought it was, which if you saw it happen, most normal people, any of us, I probably wouldn't have been walking for a couple months, but he's up hollering and shouting at the game last night.
What are we hearing from the Thunder crew? Is he still a day-to-day or game-by-game decision?
I'd have a hard time thinking he's going to play Saturday at Dallas. Probably looking more for Phoenix when they come back here. I can't see him going. Like, he'll probably go to Dallas. He'll go through shoot-around, so they might surprise us. He might try it on the court Saturday, but my guess is looking at Monday.
All right, and finally, high school playoffs.
Yeah, so absolute busiest time of the year for our department. Everybody that we've got is out covering something. So the high school football playoffs start this weekend, so now we'll kind of start narrowing down. A lot of really good matchups in week 1. Jacob Unruh and Adam Kemp will be covering those for us. We've got some freelance writers who are covering some games for us too. A whole lot of coverage in our Saturday paper.
So look for that on your driveways, your newsstands, wherever you find the Oklahoman. Just make sure you go find an Oklahoman. All this coverage and plenty more can be found throughout the weekend. And of course, online at newsok.com and our app. Guys, thanks so much. Congratulations on great coverage this week. Much appreciated. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, Dave.